Hey everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to another sponsored Opera Omnia video. We're doing a series of sponsored videos for Square Enix on one of my favorite mobile games, so here is my disclosure for the video. If you'd like to check out some of the other videos, some sponsored, some not, check the description of the video for a playlist. Now for this video, we're going to be taking a look at the most recently added Lost Chapters. They've been around for about a week at this point, but going to be getting those out of the way because they are something that you should be focusing on if you're a returning or a new player. This type of content is used to obtain characters whose events may have already ended some time ago. Unlike character events, Lost Chapters are permanent, and often unlocking characters from these is required for story progression. For this set of Lost Chapters, we have Prishe from Final Fantasy XI, Faris from Final Fantasy V, and Ramza from Final Fantasy Tactics. They're three pretty solid characters, so let's get into the event and talking about the characters and their weapons. First off, Prishe is a solid bravery shaver with access to a few different elements and frequent HP damage. She's able to generate tons of bravery and dish it out as HP damage often, especially if you have her 15 and 35 CP weapons. Ramza is more of a support, able to buff himself and his allies, granting them extra bravery and other stats. Fully buffed, Ramza's basic attacks can shave some decent bravery as well, but it's definitely not his primary function. Faris is a character that focuses mostly on debuffs, making her great at debuffing enemies, of course, but also dispelling non-permanent buffs by over-debuffing enemies, and just for straight up debilitating them. Now, some time ago I made a video claiming that the Faris event banner way back when wasn't worth pulling on since the other on-banner weapons were mostly unfavorable. This Lost Chapter banner was the one I wanted you to hold out for if you could, as all three of these characters are good characters to draw from, as are their 15 and 35 CP weapons. Plus, the first draw is half off if you're doing this banner, soon enough after watching this video. I did a couple of pulls myself, mostly to wrap up Faris' weapon acquisition for her Lost Banner. At least I got a few Power Stones along the way too. Like most character events, you'll unlock the character for that Lost Chapter and 2 of their 5-star armors by going through and completing the quests available. Now, if you already have those characters and their armors, you'll instead receive a nice chunk of gil for your time, as well as completion bonuses for the individual quests. Unlike normal character events, these Lost Chapters are displayed in a field-like grid, much like the story zones. They also have more quests, including several standard and quick events, as well as bonus chests with enhancement crystals. If you've done the character events before, progressing through them initially contains the same types of enemies and bosses. Once completing the entire Lost Chapter on normal, you actually unlock hard mode, something exclusive to the Lost Chapters. This is not the same as the multiplayer missions you may have done way back when. These are all solo missions. Well, solo just you and your 3 characters. Beating these requires good strategy, strong items, and making as much use of synergy bonuses if you have those characters beefed up. Not only are the monsters a significantly higher level, but sometimes you'll be tasked with taking out 2 of the same boss or more difficult mechanics overall. I managed to clear the highest level mission on all 3 of these Lost Chapters, and luckily I found a fairly strong team for this. Those of you who already play can probably guess what those teams are. So for Prishe's Lost Chapter, you face off against a Chimera Golem. This monster behaves similarly to regular Chimera bosses, shifting its attack and shifting its weaknesses, except its buffs are permanent and cannot be dispelled. I believe they can still be stolen by characters like Balthier, and since they're permanent buffs, works out pretty well. But I have a more direct approach. I had my OP team of Saz, yes with his 35 CP weapon, Prishe with her 15 and 35 CP weapons and mastered, and Aiko with a Prishe assist for the last 2 missions. Though I did have a random Von assist in this footage, oddly enough. I actually found the highest level quest for Prishe's Lost Chapter to be a little easier than the second to last mission. The final one only has 1 very high level Chimera Golem, instead of 2 that the quest prior to it has. The 2 are a much lower level, but I just would rather deal with only 1 boss instead of 2. The idea is the same though, kill them off as quickly as possible, and if you use Aiko's health regen, you can generally survive any of the HP damage you do take from prolonged fights. I had Aiko's 15 CP boost, but not her 35 CP, and that was comfortable enough for me. I just assisted her in for another character when I wanted to do some more damage. For Ramza's Lost Chapter, you'll be facing off against a Holy Dragon, or on the final mission on hard mode, 2 of them. This one can get a little hairy if you let them break you and land some HP damage, but brute force sure does well. Keeping them broken all the time pretty much prevented me from ever really having to worry about my health. I used Prishe, Saz, and in this case, Ramza, so I took away Aiko's healing for this one, and I just overpowered them, especially considering Ramza is a synergy character. My assist didn't end up really mattering. I ended up using it, and I think it actually hurt me in the short run, but another one of my main 3 would have been fine, or even Aiko for a health regen if anything did go poorly. Finally, we have Faris' Lost Chapter, and for this you'll be facing off against a Lamia Queen and her 2 subjects, which are mannequins. This fight is entirely up to how well you are able to KO the 2 adds that come with her consistently enough while delaying the Lamia Queen's turn as much as possible. I used Faris, Saz, and Prishe, and they worked really well for me here, with Saz being mostly on add duty. That 35 CP is just too nuts at this point in the game. Early on, it might be a bit rough getting through the allure, plus the first couple of enemy attacks, but once you've started defeating the adds, the Lamia Queen should never get any turns. Every time she gets a turn, if one of her 2 adds is dead, she will resurrect it with full health. So if there's always an add dead before a turn comes, she never does anything, and it removes her threat entirely from the fight. Now, if you're looking to power up any synergy characters for these Lost Chapters, or for general use, you can earn artifacts for these characters by doing the limited time World of Illusions for it, which ends on September 13th at 1:59 UTC. We also just got the new permanent artifact World of Illusions, so while you can't focus on the specific characters with that one, it is still an option. And that's going to be a wrap for my general overview of the Lost Chapters for Prishe, Faris, and Ramza. These felt much easier than some of the previous ones, but I haven't gone back and done Lost Chapters Volume 2, so let's just say I'm a little bit behind while also being perfectly fine in terms of being caught up. But anyway, I gotta go do that, so I'm gonna wrap this video up. Again, thank you Square Enix for sponsoring this video for Opera Omnia, and again, check that description for the playlist if you want to check out more. But anyway, thanks for watching, I'll see you all in the next one, and until then, take care.